If you've ever felt like the third wheel, this podcast is for you.
If you love Wheel of Time, this podcast is for you.
If you're bored and have nothing better to do, this podcast is for you.
Join Rob,
Megan,
And Jenn,
in celebrating the Wheel of Time
and its statistically best fandom,
and ridiculous gaming skills,
and probably a few cocktails.
and find out which one of them will be the third wheel this time.
This is
three-wheeling.
That was
it's almost Friday,
That was amazing.
bitches, and this bitch is kind of crazy.
Aren't we not supposed to swear for the first? Oh no, that's a YouTube thing. Never mind.
Yeah, you're totally fine.
Doesn't matter.
Why is the media not going away? Go away.
I
Go
know.
away,
Okay,
media
I didn't
thing.
know if
There
that
we
was
go.
me. Okay.
There we are. That was a really fun dance, and I love how we were all like, "Well, I'm not going to drop my hands if they're not going to drop their hands," and we all just kept our hands up for the entire thing.
Yeah, it felt
was
like a one of those social dares. that
Yes.
just wasn't
Yes.
voiced.
Yes.
And yeah, we just kept dancing away. So
Yeah.
in the middle of it, folks, for those who actually obviously weren't there for the Patreon recording and thus couldn't see us, we were just like bouncing back side to side and waving our hands to match. And then I was thinking when it was happening, I was like, next time we do like a live performance or something, obviously not in person like WhatCon, but like live and people can watch us, we should actually just do that.
Mhm.
Be a perk. But yeah, here we are.
It's our dance. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Recording on a Thursday night. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, Thursday night for me, it's still Thursday
Well, is it-
daytime for Jen.
Yeah.
No, it's Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's afternoon.
Daytime.
It's afternoon.
So-
It is, which meant
Yeah.
that I wasn't I wasn't getting up from sleep to come to the podcast, and I was first today. Never, ever, ever happens.
Yeah, usually Rob's first, sometimes Meg.
Mhm. And never
I love how
Jen.
I randomly spoke about myself on the third person there for no reason. But never Jen. And today it was Jen and then Meg and Rob. Rob was the one who'd only just gotten up because I took a pre-show nap
Yes.
and was still awake. Still asleep 20 minutes or 15
So
minutes. before
tired, you were
recording time.
still awake.
And then
It's
Rob
fair.
and I. So Rob, tell me you're lamenting.
So my lamenting, kind of like a TLDR of it, my desktop needed dusting, so I did that this week, put it back together, but didn't actually like reconnect it in the office until last night, and it went no.
Yeah.
And I went, oops. So lots of unplugging and replugging and then unscrewing and rescrewing and checking of connections and moving of wires and all that sort of stuff, and eventually it works. Although I feel like I may have done something, I'm not sure. But my TLDR was that, like, I can just take that apart and fix it, and oops.
Yeah.
And Jen, you've
Yeah, mine was I'm replacing the faucet in my kitchen because it leaks, and underneath the leaks as well the water valve. So I was like, everybody's out of the house today, and I have to turn the water off in the house to do it. So I was like, great, David's not here, nobody's here, nobody needs water. I'll survive on coffee, and I can make it work. And then started later than I intended. Naturally, got under there and realized that I had the wrong valve. I have copper pipes, and I needed the copper pipe valve, not the other pipe valve. So I ran it to the hardware store. I was like, this doesn't look exactly like what I have in my hand. He was like, no, that should work. And I was like, this isn't the same. And he was like, yeah, it's not, but I bet you've got the right intakes at home. So I went home. They're not. So now I have to go back. So my water is off, but I was like, I can do all this before we podcast. Of course I can. And then I have to say I'm proud of myself because 20 minutes ago I decided I would not run back to the hardware store before our podcast. I was just stay home with no water, and nobody's home yet. Anyway, yeah, so that's my TL. So that's how I take things apart and try to put it back together.
We were lamenting about our ability to do that, and then Meg came in and was like,
So while trying to make the cocktail last night, I realized I was out of rum, and I needed rum for the cocktail. But not even that. I had rum, technically. I had spiced rum, but I needed white rum. So everything was just terrible. And then so I tried to make it with spiced rum last night, and it was okay. I haven't actually tasted this one yet with white rum, so hopefully I got the ratios right and whatever. I might adjust them, but we'll see. So yes.
We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So while
and these are our first world problems.
Yeah, welcome to the first world problem section where I'm like, oops, I took my computer apart and now it won't work. And Jen takes her pipes apart and doesn't have the right valves, and Meg's like, I run out.
Where's the rum gun?
yeah. Meg was Jack Sparrow this week.
Meg has pirate problems. Yes. And mine actually technically is not a first world problem. Not having water is a big deal.
Yeah. So
and in pirate days, not having rum was a big deal.
It's like water. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's all hope I can get this fixed tonight before my family
So I'm the third wheel because I've got the actual first world problem.
Exactly. Oh, good Lord. Ugh.
Chaos.
Anyway,
chaos,
nice
chaos.
to see you both. Nice to see you midweek. It's fun.
Yeah,
Fun
this
little
is.
treat.
It is. It's a little fun little catch up and hang out.
Yeah.
And hi, Mom, who's listening and watching, who loved our cute dancing in the pre-show. Good to have you here. I'm not sure if anyone's going to turn up because it's such a strange day for us to be recording.
A strange time for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it's 9 o'clock at night for me. Nils, who would probably listening, it's like 10 o'clock for him.
Right.
And then, in America, it's, somewhere between 1 p.m.
4 and 1 o'clock. So,
which, honestly,
mid-work
this is
day.
this is a night, like, none of us are having to, like, overly exert to make this time work. I guess our normal podcast time is
I
also
had
fine
to
for all of
stop
us.
and get rum on the way home, so I had to rush and do that. So.
There's that.
And back to the first world problems.
And
is that our title for this episode?
Yeah.
FYC, a first world problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or
FYC,
and then our audiogram is where's
FYC,
the rum
FWC.
Where is the rum gone? No, Meg,
rum?
we need an audiogram about the episode, not your life.
Yes.
Well,
there. All right, but Jen, do you know what time it is?
What time is it, Rob?
I think it's time to ask
what's Meg
drinking?
You guys are getting better. Good.
We are getting better.
So,
I just don't look at Jen anymore. That's the difference.
Just do
it.
I'm still trying to match your lip flap. Okay.
Don't say lip flap. It's weird. I don't like it.
It's an animation
such a word
thing.
choice.
It's an animation thing.
That?
It is, or a puppet thing. Lip flap. Lip flap. Puppet. Lip flap. Anyway. Yes. It's a real word. It's a real word tonight. People. It's an industry word. Let me be my industry person and use industry words like a pro, like the pro that I am. All right. What are you drinking, Meg?
So you guys could vote on the name if you wanted. So I was going either between Daughter of the River or El Nito. So
I like the name Mouth Flap.
lip flap.
Lip flap. I don't know. I'm just making up words now.
I like mouth flap. Okay. El Nito or Daughter of the River. I like that. Mm-hmm.
It's very green.
It is very green.
I was trying to make it more blue, but
okay.
For blue,
but you do adjust these ratios more. Anyway, because it's got this kind of
tell us what it is?
Okay, so it's in a shaker without ice because there's egg white in it. 2 ounces of rum, 3/4 of an ounce of Saint Germain, 1/2 ounce of Blue Curacao, 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of egg white, of course, edible sparkles to represent Siuan's gold costuming. And then you dry shake it, and then you add ice, shake again, strain into a coupe glass, and then I garnished it with a lime wheel on top, if you can kind of see.
Ooh,
pretty.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty.
And
so I was thinking curious,
the inspiration.
Yeah, so I feel like Siuan would be a rum girl. I don't know. Just on the river, just kind of poorer, I don't know. I get rum vibes. And then the Blue Curacao to represent the river and her blue Ajah. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was basically kind of trying to go for a classic daiquiri. So not a strawberry daiquiri with ice and blended. No, so a classic daiquiri has typically rum, simple syrup, and lime juice, and that's it. So then I just played with the flavors a little bit, and of course I just love Saint Germain, and that is also what I call liquid gold. So I was also letting that represent the gold of her costuming. So
Nice.
it's just got like this
Right,
little bit
okay.
of a bitter flavor, so I might need to drop the lime ratio a little bit. I don't know, so I might play with that a little bit. So
I can imagine. Swan is a little acerbic in her personality.
Yeah,
So
she's...
I don't mind a little bitterness in
I
there.
know, and some people like the bitter, so I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I did make it once less. So I made it with spiced rum and not white rum, last night. But I did one without egg white and one with egg white, and it did feel like a little bit too punchy and strong without the egg white. So the egg white kind of like mellows it a little bit. So
Nice.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Very nice.
And
It's
Meg, I'm going to
beautiful.
ask you a technical question now.
Mhm.
Why do you have to dry shake when you add egg whites? Why
So
does that make it dry shake
it doesn't
first?
froth or emulsify as much, and then so you're getting more of like raw
If you put
egg,
ice
I
in, you
guess.
mean.
Yes.
When you put
yes.
ice in. Mhm.
Yes. So you dry shake it
Okay.
to emulsify and get the egg white foamy, and then you put in the ice to cool it. Some people dry shake after, so sometimes they'll do it with the ice first, then they'll pour out the ice and then dry shake it last, and supposedly that like helps it to be even more frothy. But I just find it annoying because then I have to pour my cocktail somewhere else and then pour out the ice and then pour it back in, and it's a pain in the butt. So
I was just thinking
Fair.
the logistical nightmare of removing the ice. Yeah.
right. Mm-hmm. So
Fair. I just realized you've mentioned that many times doing a dry shake because of egg white, sorry. And I was like, we've never actually asked that question. Since this is an episode where we're asking questions of people who know things, I figured we should
I
ask
drink
that question.
and I know things.
Yes. She's a
full
pirate
of
that
it
drinks and
today.
knows things.
This is great.
It's been a week for you, Meg, apparently. You feel like the, yeah.
May for teachers is really hard.
It's hard
Oh,
for
bless.
parents of students as well. Let me just say that
Yes.
straight up.
I don't know. Let me just ask. Kids, is it hard? Oh, wait, no, I don't have any.
And I'm assuming it's hard for my children as well, not just for me, but that's me centering all of it on me.
I mean, fair,
Yeah, fair.
you know.
Fair.
Yeah.
So. Cool. All right. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today,
I don't have any social media stuff to talk about. I'm sorry.
oh,
Well,
right.
in a
Okay.
sense, I mean, it's not social media exactly, but I mean, what we're talking about is kind of sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
media based.
Yeah, but
it's not
anything
social
else
media.
other than that, I don't have anything. No.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's fair. I have two things.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. I love that. Ooh. Like, oh, you're surprised. Oh,
Ooh.
Rob has stuff. Okay, fine. Rob
Nuggets.
didn't just turn it. Yeah, Rob, well, no, they're not nuggets at all. But two things I wanted to mention. One was Sharon was posting about Moraine's armor and posted Rob Goodwin wearing it.
Oh.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I thought it was an
Wait,
adorable
was it
photo.
Moraine's armor or Egwene's armor?
I
I think it was
actually can't-
Egwene's.
Was it Egwene's armor?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Oh, yes, it was Egwene's armor. Yes.
Mhm.
Posted Rob wearing that, and I reposted it, and I think, what did I repost and actually say now? I was just like, is this now a new? Anyway, I reposted it, and I did something about like being a warder or something like that, and Rob loved it. But I was just, I don't know. There was something about seeing like just the other cast, the other crew members wearing things to be like, how does it fit on before they can actually put on a person was just, it was really funny.
Yeah. That's amazing.
The other thing is something that I came across. My phone is now suggesting Wheel of Time articles to me. It's finally worked out that I'm a Wheel of Time fan. So occasionally, if I accidentally slide my phone in the opposite direction to, opening files, it gives you that my random, here's your Google page and here's suggested articles to you to read. Did that today, and it came up with an article about Daniel Henney.
Ooh.
So I shared that. This was probably only 4 hours ago that I shared this on my Instagram, put it in my Discord server. 67 dogs rescued from grim fate at Dog Meat Farm with the help from Wheel of Time star Daniel Henney. And it's an article about how they changed the law in South Korea and dogs can no longer be used for meat or, sort of raised to meat, things like that. And Daniel Henney has been supporting and helping the charity that's part of that. And it's just like he went to basically rescue 67 dogs from this place that was in the process of changing. So it wasn't a case of like they did like a big raid and blah 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 blah. It was like this, this place is I forget what they're using instead now. Like they're moving on to something else to to make it their restaurant. And so they plan to go rescue these dogs, and he helped go and rescue them. And the article, it's if you're really sensitive to things such as dog cruelty or animal cruelty, stuff like that, folks, obviously bear in mind when you read it. It is in my Discord server. I can post the link out if anybody wants it. There are some photos, but Dan talks about it, and he, obviously it was really moving. He's a owner of a dog that is rescued from a dog meat farm, so it's a big deal to him. As he says, as a huge dog lover and a dad to a dog meat farm survivor, it was incredibly challenging to see the suffering of these dogs who have endured so much. It makes me all the prouder to have supported Humane World for Animals' successful campaign to achieve a ban, because it means no more dogs like these will suffer like this again. South Korea is embracing a new chapter where dogs are our friends, not food, and that couldn't make me more thrilled. And I was just like, oh, this guy's awesome.
And I like that he quoted Finding Nemo.
I know, that was really cool. So the dogs, all but 17, something like that, 7, have been shipped off to the US, where they will go and continue to receive veterinary needs and things like that where needed. And then they will be rehomed in the US, and Dan's going to follow to make sure, to who ends up where and things like that. And then I think the 7 or 17 or whatever that stayed behind, that was just they're too young to fly yet. So they'll stay, and they'll be moved to America when they're old enough and be rehomed there. So it was just a really nice story that I wanted to share.
It's really great.
And then maybe I should have shaved that for the water positivity, but it was just a really cute article that I wanted to talk about. So
you can edit it, cut it, and then put it at the end, right?
No.
We can always start positive and end positive. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I know I said I had a couple of things, but I actually had 3 things. The third thing, we've all heard about the Renew What campaign, right?
Yes.
We've seen that floating around. It has been doing a petition that says, thank you, Amazon and Sony for the show. We love it. We'd want to see more. Please renew it. To send sort of a pre-put together email out to Amazon and Sony and the execs and things like that. I think there's 7 people it goes to. To date. This is what the website says. It might be more in the back end because it only refreshes every now and again. It is 808 letters shy of 150,000 letters
That's
have
awesome.
been emailed out to Amazon and
It's
Sony,
amazing.
which is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations to them. If you want to go and sign that, just head over to renewwhat.com and it's right there. You can go and fill that in. You can send the pre-filled in one, or you can change it and put in your own message, which some people do. If you just want to be quick and post your info, off it goes, easy peasy. And you can come and join us next Saturday at midday Eastern, where I will be running their rewatch party with special guests, where we're going to watch season 3 together. And, just try and bump up those viewing numbers. Why not?
Woohoo. Thank you for doing that, Rob.
Yeah, I couldn't help full time with them. They asked me, and I was like, I can't commit to that. But I can host something for you if you, because Matt had mentioned Malki's King. He'd mentioned a few things, and I was like, I might be able to help with this. So, it's worked out that I'm doing a party. And on Friday, so that's Saturday 24th for that midday Eastern. But Friday, Talker on Odd on the 23rd are doing the Wheelies, which is the Wheel of Time Season 3 awards. So check those out as well. Just go to search Soccer on Riyadh and you will find the links to that next week. Go vote if you haven't voted yet. I don't know if voting will still be open when the episode comes out. But
speaking of voting and awards.
Why?
Very nice segue.
Thank you.
What about voting and awards there, Jen?
Thank you. What should we discuss today?
I don't know. Let me consider our options of what we can talk about today. Meg, anything pop to mind?
Nah. Rum.
No.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Rum.
See ya. And thanks for joining us on Three Wheeling.
Yeah, check out the socials. Goodbye.
Maybe
Well,
the FYC panel?
Maybe that's it. All right. Let's do that. Let's talk about the FYC panel. Because that's what's going on right now in Wheel of Time world. Wheel of Time show world.
Yeah, so I proposed that earlier this week, folks, because we'd seen this out, and it occurred to me, while I know what FYC is, I also don't know how it really works, and what is a good thing and a bad thing, and what stages means what, and things like that. And I was like, we have an expert in the industry on the podcast. I was like, shall we talk about this? And yeah, so I prompted this idea, and we're gonna quiz Jenn a little bit, or Jenn's
Sounds
gonna
good.
share some knowledge, folks. How does it work, Jenn? Like, what's the process?
Well, Megan was asking what I like if I'm getting a lot of it. So I'm in the Television Academy, and I get multiple emails a day.
As long as you check them.
I don't know how I missed it, because I did miss the Wheel of Time. I literally check daily for the Wheel of Time. I'm always like FYCs come in, and then I always just do a search for Wheel of Time in case I've missed one, because I get several a day. And then Megan was like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!"
After I texted you about it.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Wait, could you have possibly watched the FYC and you didn't?
No, Megan texted me technically, well, no, they didn't do it live. And so this is the thing that's sort of new with FYC, is that kind of during COVID, this is how they started changing the process, because they couldn't have live panels.
Right.
Normally, so the campaigns go a lot of different ways, but you get, I just got my Emmy magazine a couple of days ago, and Amazon has a 3-page fold out, and I was like, what in the actual, because on the first front 3-page fold out, Wheel of Time was not there, but then it is there on a different part. They have another one towards the back. But so I got my Emmy magazine
towards the back when it should be at the front. Let's just say
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway.
I got an Emmy magazine that had a booklet for something Zach just watched that I'm embarrassed that I'm not for Severance. And I'm like, come on, Severance is gonna get all the nominations anyway. You don't even have to promote it that hard. But the studios are out promoting in the same way they do during Oscar season, but this right now is Emmy promotion season, and so they're promoting all of their possible nominees for coming up. And so in LA, it's really kind of fun because we have billboards, FYC billboards everywhere. You just don't really have those other places, so Wheel of Time isn't coming out in a few weeks, but you might see a poster. You're not going to see a poster for Wheel of Time. They're not promoting it hard enough, unfortunately. But the other thing is that with Emmy nomination stuff, you have to hope your studio is going to put the money into your show to put it out. So Severance, it's a big fat packet from, of behind the scenes from Severance. So, it's a really meaty kind of thing. I mean, I get, and it's for Emmys, this is that time period, but during regular awards season, I say regular awards season, during movie awards season, it's Oscars and Golden Globes, and the TV is wrapped into that. So you have Oscars and Golden Globes and everything that's happening sort of usually earlier in the spring. And so, I mean, sometimes you get ridiculous things. I got a hat box one year with travel posters for season 2 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Wow.
Sometimes they're really crazy, the things that you can get in the mail, and sometimes they're not. And it also, I get, so I get stuff from being a member of SAG, I get stuff being a member of the WGA, I get stuff just if you're just whatever in town, but specifically right now, because it's Emmy season and because I'm a member of the TV Academy, that's what's coming through really hard right now. So yeah, and then there's screenings, and it used to be that if there was a for your consideration screening, they would screen an episode, you would go, and the panel would do a talk back after. And and so that is still what's happening. I'm in the lottery to go to one in a couple weeks. I can't remember which one it is. I'm watching
probably Severance.
Probably for Severance, exactly. And because sometimes there is something in person. David signed us up for one last week for I don't remember what it was. Oh, I know the lottery I'm in for is for the studio.
Wasn't it Mission Impossible? Wasn't there
No, it
something
was
with-
Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he did Mission Impossible too, but he signed us up for
Yeah.
Daredevil, and then he was like, "It's next Tuesday in New York. Never mind, un-RSVP," because we get the things like it goes to everybody in the Academy, and it doesn't. It just like lists them, and it if you don't look carefully, you'll realize you signed up for something in New York. So some of them are in person, which is great. So Megan texted me at like 5:15 on the night that it was like. It
5
said a
o'clock.
5 p.m. screening, and I was like, "What? Who does a screening at 5 p.m.? Like that's really unusual in and of itself." And then I realized it was a pre-recorded interview, and it was so there was nothing live. There was no kind of question and answer, no talk back, no possibility to interact at all. Because I thought even if it was a digital screening that it would be a live screening, and it wasn't. It was just, and so I would say 30% of the ones I've seen so far this year are just sort of digital screeners, maybe 20%. And it doesn't mean they won't do another one. With an international show like this, it makes sense that they're not going to have everybody here. I know a couple years ago they flew Sharon and Davina here, and Rafe did a talk here in LA. It was Rafe, Rosman, I think, Sharon, Davina. But this one is Rafe and Sharon and Rosman and Davina and Andre, the production designer. Yeah, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. But it is just it's just another behind the scenes almost. It's another interview.
So pre-COVID, it was always in person?
Yes, although I would say like sometimes there would be a panel in New York, but like as a member, you could log in and watch it in LA. You could watch it live in LA or something. They were usually live. They weren't usually done. The whole idea of like window screens and Zoom is just very sort of post-COVID anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there were some done that were digital like this prior to that. And again, like the for your consideration can be anything. Like you can send somebody a hat box with, posters of like where Mrs. Maisel travels to. You can send, I have I have a wireless charger that says Amazon on it. That's just like Amazon sending it. Like they send a booklet with all the shows that they want you to look at, and then they also sent a wireless charger 1 year so that you have Amazon sitting on your desk all day and you look at it, and then you're like, oh yeah, Amazon sent me this, I better watch those shows. Yeah, they can be anything. And sometimes it's like, there'll be something at the Academy that's like, it isn't actually a talk or a screening, but they'll have the costumes there, or they'll have things like that. So there's a lot of different stuff that can happen, but this was in fact a really great interview. Perry is so good. Perry Nemiroff does the interview. She's an excellent interviewer. She's such a good interviewer. She's really good. She's really good. But it was also,
I felt like she was almost on the verge of tears a couple of times.
Maybe, yeah. No, she was really.
Yeah.
It was really sweet because she is a fan, and so it's really it was a really sweet, a really kind of a sweet exchange. But I think that it's, I hope they do more. And it was interesting because I don't know if they have more planned, because I thought it was interesting that Rafe was like, he was really pushing hard Emmy. Like he was like, we have all these Emmy nominated people on the show, or we have Emmy winners on the show already. Like,
and this is the best work that they've done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really hope they can get recognized for it. And, the studio promotes it, but they may or may not promote much. And like I said, like the thing that came in my Emmy magazine, like, Wheel of Time was like one little small corner of it. Like there was one page that had a bunch of images, and it was one small image, and I think it was an image of Rosman, and it was pretty close up, but it was like didn't sell the show at all. Like it wasn't, it didn't like give you that epic the picture of Lord of the Rings. Like, yeah, the picture of Lord of the Rings has Galadriel fighting somebody. You know what I mean? Like it was just like I was like, this could have been more or better, or like you can't see the costuming, you can't see.
I'm sorry, I don't want to trash Lord of the Rings, but I'm just so sick of like them like pushing Rings of Power so much with so much money, so much promotion, whatever. And Wheel of Time is hands down a hard, like it's a better show in every way. Like you didn't even finish. I don't think you even finished season 1 or season 2. Like, and I had to make myself watch season 2. Yeah. I fall asleep in that show all the time. Like.
I remember you two told me, oh, you should watch season 2, Rob. It actually does get better. And now you're telling me you fell asleep before the end of the season. So
I still watched it, but I'm just saying, like, it just.
I think that Lord of the Rings, or Rings of Power, has is in a weird position because very clever of the Tolkien estate. When they were negotiating with Amazon about getting the rights to do all of this, made it part of the contract that it would have 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. And if they don't do 5 seasons, Amazon have to shell out a lot more money. And it's actually going to, it's not cost effective to say, well, we'll stop at 3. It's
Yeah.
cost effective to do all 5.
Yeah.
And if you're going to spend, including buying the rights, $500 million and have to do 5 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
you can understand being like, well, we should promote the fucking thing.
Yeah,
Because
so
we
we get
need to try and make money, even though it's shit.
Yeah.
Because we're tied into this 5 seasons, and, it's going to cost us a shitload more to not make the 5 seasons than it would be to try and promote the whole shit that we've made.
Well, the other thing is Amazon also just doesn't promote as much as their studios. Like Netflix is really incredible with campaigning. They do a really, really good job. And but it is their whole bag. And again, like Amazon and Apple does a pretty solid job of promoting as well. But
I think
in both
Apple
of
has
those
like a much smaller
situations-
catalog as well, doesn't it? Really,
It was what?
has a smaller catalog
They do.
generally as
They
well.
do. So they can put
it's
a lot of
easier.
promotion into
Yeah.
like they can niche it a little bit. But the other thing is that it's, so when I was nominated for an Emmy, and when I was nominated, Disney did not nominate our song.
Can we just pause there for a second? Sorry, you're an Emmy nominated
I'm an Emmy
Right, Jen?
nominated lyricist, actually. Yes,
lyricist. Oh, Jen, I did not know that.
We've talked about it, I thought.
I don't.
Not the Emmy nominated part. I didn't know
maybe not,
that.
Maybe not. I am. But let me
I'm
say,
changing the blurb of the podcast.
yeah. Well, let me give
lyricist.
let me give credit where credit is due, because my very good friend who was the showrunner of Lion Guard, Ford Riley, he is the one who put us forward for that song. So he and I co-wrote the song lyrics, and then we have a composer as well, Bo, whose last name is escaping me, and I'm so embarrassed right now. Anyway, but Disney was like, look, we're only going to put out, because it costs money. It costs money to submit your films to nominations. So a studio may say, this is our budget, and if we have 10 shows this year, but we can really only afford to do 5, we're not going to put that money out. Or you each choose one category you want to be nominated in, and we're only going to support that one. And anything else you want to be nominated in besides that one category, you're going to have to foot the bill. So Ford actually paid for our nomination. To
Wow.
our submission, not our nomination. He didn't pay for the nomination. We got that on our own merit. I want to say that he didn't buy our nomination, but he did buy he paid to have us submit, and then and then
That is how that came across, Jen. Don't worry, it didn't sound like you bought a nomination.
But we didn't have any promotion. There was no promotion for our song because Disney wasn't behind it at all. So somehow in our small niche of animation, we got enough, and kids and family, we had enough people listen to our song and say it was worthy of a nomination, which is also really, really meaningful and really wonderful. But it's the studio may or may not promote it. So Amazon doesn't do as good of a job as Netflix and other studios as promoting, but also will promote some shows more, but it might not just even be Amazon's choice. That show may have built into their budget, or a production company that has a budget for that too. So it's not just Amazon necessarily choosing Rings of Power versus Wheel of Time. It's, there's a lot behind all of it.
A lot of variables.
There's a lot of variables. So it is a little bit.
So I need to calm down is what you're saying.
No, you don't need to calm down.
You need to share the rage is what,
Yes.
what we're actually saying. Okay, because it could be Amazon and Sony here just being like, well,
Yeah.
Because I and not to change the subject because we are going to keep it on this for the moment, but like on a side note, John from What Up, someone shared his video and was just like, oh, John says like Jordan Studios is no longer a thing, like it's gone, because they leased the building, they didn't buy the building, and the leases come up. And someone was sharing this, and they were like, this is horrible, blah, blah. And I said, it is horrible. I said, but it makes sense because they're in the middle of negotiations with Sony to renew and figure out what they're doing. And, they'll rehashing budgets and all those things they will be doing between everything. Like, they're not going to release the building because what if the contract doesn't go through? They continue to lease the building. They're completely on the hook for by themselves that they can't use.
Yeah.
And maybe previously they shared the lease of the building. Like, Amazon paid this much, Sony paid that much. All those things are in play. And obviously then we went and it's like, maybe they're moving studios. Maybe they're going to record in London. Maybe they're going to move it to America. Who knows? Like, the million things in there.
Sure.
And like, on the face of it, it's just like, oh, Amazon, they can afford it. But it was like, actually, there's probably lots of nitty-gritties. And it makes sense with Emmy stuff that it would be a case of like, is the budget there,
Yeah, and so that's what I mean about like Rafe being in there and being like please pay attention to our amazing people. Like that's why he last year brought Sheridan Davina, because he was like the makeup and costuming in this and hair in the shows out of this world. Like, that's why he brought them forward last year and really promoted them, and like adding Andre into that mix this year because the production design this season is just so killer. And I think that, so, you know, Rafe, he recognizes that if he isn't out there promoting it, if he isn't reminding people, and him being on social media and talking about it is he's making up for the fact that Amazon isn't doing more. And so, you know, and that's the thing about Jordan Studios. You can't keep overhead like that. You can't maintain it if you're not in production. They went straight from season 2 wrapping into season 3 production, almost like very, very close. And so, you know, like, you can keep your production teams alive. You've got post going on. They were still in post. And so, you know, there's all those reasons why you can keep a studio going, but they're working with that other company whose logo is Film is King. And I can't think what the name of the company is, but, you know, there's a production company in Prague that like handles the production side of things, which means that they're the ones who have the makeup trailers and the, you know, the costume trailers and the actors trailers and the honey wagons. And like, so that company works really closely with everybody making Wheel of Time, and that company is still there. They're just producing things for other films as well. So it's not like, oh, everything's gone from Prague, or like everybody's gone. It just means they don't have the studio space, you know, because they need to rent it out. Somebody else needs to do it. Somebody else needs to make a movie there. And also, I don't know if you've noticed this, Rafe is also really promoting Prague as a place of filming. Like, he's been like, if you need a place to come to Prague, because he wants to keep the film industry alive there, because he wants to go back and be able to rehire all those people and make sure that they're continuing to work and stay in Prague, so that there's actually a team of people to make a TV show there.
Not to get into politics, but did we want to talk about this whole thing that Trump is saying about outsourcing the film industry or something? What all that means?
We don't know what it means yet, and I'm not actually that worried about it. I mean,
Trump
what he said was that anything that's made in a foreign anything he says doesn't matter. But he said anything that's made in a foreign country is not going to be, we're going to put a tariff on it, or you can't bring it in here, or blah blah blah. But like, most of Hollywood production is made elsewhere anyway, and it doesn't mean he's not going to get anywhere with that. I'm not worried about it. I'm not.
That's too convoluted to actually make it anywhere. Like, because you know, you go pick any live action movie that has any, you know, that isn't filmed in one room because it's done by 2 students and it turns out to be a horror franchise. You know, that isn't that sort of situation that goes to any location anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you half the film isn't made in America, even if it's purely financed by Americans and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like, I
mean, the truth is, like, the film industry has shot itself in the foot. The film and television industry. You know, like, I would love to move to Prague to work on the show. I think the type of show that this is, and based on the kinds of sets that they need to start with, it makes sense that they're going to be shooting internationally. I love that it's an international cast. But the industry itself has made it very difficult to shoot and keep the industry in LA for a long time. There's the California Film Commission, which like gives certain grants and budgets, and like, you know, if you have this, we'll give you this back in taxes. That is a fraction on filming anywhere else. I mean, even in the United States, people all move to Atlanta. People move to Austin. You know, people are shooting anywhere else in the U.S. If you talk about North America, the tax breaks of shooting in Vancouver or Toronto are so significant. So if you want to stay in this hemisphere, you're still going to Canada. You know, tax breaks in Australia, tax breaks in Eastern Europe. Like, it has made it, LA is doing everything they can to make it difficult to shoot here and to film here. And it's really unfortunate. And they're finally now like, oops, we kind of screwed up by like creating all of this red tape and all of these hoops that you have to jump through in order to film here, because everybody left. And so there's a really, really big campaign now in Hollywood. Like, I mean, as much as I'm getting like the Renew Watt campaign, I'm also getting a constant daily from many of my different unions, keep film in LA, keep film in California, like, you know, or at least keep it stateside, keep film in America. And animation, I'm getting a lot of like, keep animation in LA. And it was a problem pre-Trump. It's been a problem for many years that you can't film here and you can't shoot here. And that's why Amazon went to Prague, because they were like, it's a heck of a lot cheaper for us to just set up house over there. And it's hard. So that, I mean, you know, now, and then again, because of people not recovering from the strike and all of those things, people are like, if we can bring it back here, we can actually have jobs. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We talked about this last year with the costuming and stuff, about the fact that it is mostly an international crew and it's people who are based out of Europe. And then, so do our costumers not know them? Like the people in the costume, like they do, but do they? Like, it's just, it is interesting. And it is a little divisive here of like, oh, well, why are you hiring everybody over there instead of hiring, people who work down the street who can't afford their house because they're living in LA, like, so it is a little tricky. And unfortunately it sometimes, pits people against each other a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to be a weird balance. I know we like red tape here in the UK as well. But every time someone talks about filming, I always think like we do a lot to let people film here, and it's not just we do a lot. Obviously, we don't do as many discounts as you can get, like in Prague, for example. The tax incentives and all those sort of things are not the same. But I always hear people rave about the studios here in the UK. That they can film in and what's there for them, and like yes, you've got like the Warner Brothers sets and actually, I don't know of any other studios in America now that I've said this, and I'm sure there's lots, and I apologize to them for not knowing them, but they're just not out there in the zeitgeist the way that the Warner Brothers one is, for example.
Right.
But it's just it's a weird situation to be in, like, because if you're going to go film abroad, if you hire locally, you don't have to travel them very far, but in the same, you're not supporting your own industry based in America, which is where your studio has come from.
But it's not new. I mean. Star Wars was shot at Shepperton or Leavesden, Shepperton or
Leavesden, a little bit of Shepperton, but I think it was mostly Leavesden.
Yeah. So Star Wars,
that was the 70s and 80s. Yeah.
So. I mean, Jim Henson went to England to get grants and be able to make the Muppet Show. The Muppet Show was made in England, and and then Fraggle Rock was made in Toronto. It's not new. These are not new problems. I mean, we created problems for our industry a very, very long time ago that have not righted themselves in my lifetime, frankly. I came into the industry already established that way.
Yeah, the time it takes to make film and television, problems like these don't turn up, within a presidency.
Yeah.
They turn up within, generations.
Yeah.
Because, it takes... I mean, these days, sometimes it takes 7-8 years to make a movie, especially if you're David Cameron. But, even a short production, and I've never heard of anything that takes less than, a year, 18 months to sort of throw together. They're like, oh, we put this together really fast. We did it in 18 months. And I was like, oh, okay, movies take a long time. Television can take a long time. That's a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and premium television takes a lot longer. I watched... no shade on this. I love the show. I watched an episode of the A-Team yesterday while I was doing dishes, and
like the A-Team from the 80s.
Yeah,
Mr. T.
Mr.
Okay,
Mr. T.
Right.
Mr. T.
I pity the fool who does their own. Yeah,
exactly.
Pity the fool who takes part in his computer and doesn't know how to put it back together.
I
do know how to put it back together. I know how to put it back together, folks. That was not. Anyway, sorry. Carry on. Yeah, you were watching the A-Team. Sorry.
But I was watching it, and I was like, it's fun to watch 80s television and be like. Like I see how you could crank. I mean, they had 10 days of shooting, and they probably had 5 days of post, or 10 days of post. But it was like you did an entire episode of television in 30 days, and tops maybe 28. And so like between even like a little bit of pre and then shooting for 10 days and then post, and it was a different type of television, and we are now so spoiled by premium television, and we expect. Like not only the scripts to be, cinematic and Oscar performance worthy, it's not Oscar performance worthy anymore. I mean, it's like the Golden Globes, like TV's a big deal. Like we expect that level of acting, we expect that level of writing, we expect that level of production design, we expect that level of this on a still a very limited budget comparatively.
Well, and that's what I felt like, Rafe and Rosamund were talking a lot about in the FYC, because they were like talking about how they really have been pushing for the aspect ratio, and it was really nice how, I mean, they almost alluded, I mean, they didn't say it, but they were like Lawrence of Arabia, like we have these vistas, we need to, have the scope. And then, I mean, I really do love Rafe so much because he really talks up his whole crew. Like he's just like, I have given them ridiculous demands, and constraints, and all of these things, and they've managed to like figure it out. And like I wrote down a quote from Rosamund. She said, hang on, I want to get it right, and it's somewhat paraphrased, but she said, Rafe throws balls in the air and we fucking catch them.
Yeah.
But it's true. And what's cool about it is that he does give credit where credit is due, and he constantly talks about it. So the two things that he talked about that I wrote down too, I wrote down a few things, but collaboration and limitation. So first of all, he's just like, what's so wonderful about TV is that you have this aspect of collaboration. And then he and Rosamund talk about how like we get the chance to work with these people over and over again, season after season. So you get all the shorthand, you build this thing, and
and the
if
trust,
you're someone,
it sounds like too.
yeah. And if you're someone like Christopher Guest, who has made just for the most part films, but does them with his same crew over and over again, the same crew of actors, and I know he uses a lot of the same crew behind the scenes, and like niche filmmakers have done that with their films, but in TV it is a really special thing, is that you get to build this amazing group of people all with the same goal, and you get to do it for a while, and then you get good at it, and then it becomes a well-oiled machine, so that you can change things, like change the aspect ratio, up it, go bigger, go more, which is great. It's a really fantastic thing, and you can't be in this business without being good at collaborating. And so you find the best people and you put them together, and then you appreciate them, which is what Rafe is so good at. But the other thing is that the limitation of television, again, like they're creating 8 episodes that are almost all an hour apiece. So let's just call that 4 features,
Right.
4 2-hour movies on a budget of a quarter of a normal 2-hour movie. Probably, or like when you talk about the whole season, the budget might be closer to a film, but still you're trying to do 4 films for the price of 1. And it's on a faster with, faster. And like, they talked about the idea that Yosha wasn't able to live in those costumes, and they couldn't do full costume and makeup checks before he was literally in costume and makeup and ready to go to set. They didn't have a chance to tweak things, but there is something so magical about when you have those limitations. And I think that when you have a good group of people around you and the collaboration is working, you can create something that when you have all the time and money in the world, you get bogged down in details, or you go back and you change it, or you second guess yourself. You're not working authentically, and you're not working on gut. You're working on like, what are people going to think about, or how do we do this? That starts to become a little bit
overthought,
and a little messy, or a little muddy, or a little bit like,
or inauthentic.
Or inauthentic. I mean, those limitations, like the idea that Yosha didn't have time to like really discover those characters, or like know what it felt like to have the prosthetics on before he was in that. Instead, he just took a couple of hours right before he walked into set to get to know those characters, gave them some serious gravity and like a beautiful like discovering of those characters as he was going. But also, like, it was just, I think that in some ways that may have created a better performance. He didn't have time to get his head about it. He didn't have time to be like, oh, well, maybe, I mean, he did plenty of work before he came to set that day. It wasn't like
obviously,
he, created those characters on the spot.
He's all about it, and he's looked for, examples in personal and professional life to be like, I can draw this or draw that. And,
But the first time you put on a costume, the first time you put on a prosthetic, you're transformed in that moment, and that is really beautiful and authentic. And then you go back and you take it off, and then you put it back on the next week. It's not going to feel the same. And so there was something really wonderful about those characters being super fresh in those moments that I think wouldn't have happened if they'd had the time and budget to do it the way we normally do it, And I mean, I say that all the time in animation, and even in preschool, like the limitations of like when I write for preschool, like what you can say or what you can't say, or how you have to like explain something to preschoolers or to a young audience. You have to repeat it. But sometimes being forced into those limits makes us better storytellers, because we have to work within those parameters, and so then we have to be really precise and clean about it. Toy Story 2 was originally designed to be a direct-to-video movie, and it was created on old TV aspect ratio. That's how they filmed the first half of the movie, and it was not going to be as big and as epic. And then Disney was like, forget it. We want to go to sequel. We want to go to feature. We want to go to big screen with it. So
Whoever
not
suggested
only
that was a genius.
yeah. And
Yeah,
they
because
had
that
to,
was, I mean, that really kicked off the franchise, to be honest.
Oh,
I really
oh
do.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But it also like, and part of, I think why they didn't want to at the beginning was because the rights were like Pixar versus Disney. And there's a whole thing, but in any case, they had to literally
Which
go back and
let's remind everybody that David, your husband, worked on Toy Story 2.
He did work on Toy Story 2.
Yes.
And they completely rewrote the story, changed so much, and refilmed basically the entire movie 10 months before release, which in animation is just
Wow.
unheard of and impossible. And
especially
like not
for the way they animated it back then, that was so new.
yeah,
You know, now you might be able to say to someone like a digital film animated, be like, all right, we got 10 months, like 10 months from today, it's premiering.
Yeah.
Premiering, sorry. And, use words, Rob. And they'd be like, okay, this is a huge push, but we'll fucking do it. You know, we can knock it out because the processes are there.
Right.
They were still inventing them with Toy
They
Story
were.
2.
They were.
You know?
And it was also like it gave this like you didn't have time to do revisions. You were like, here's our story, and it was like really pure and really beautiful. Like when they redid things, and I mean, I honestly, it's my favorite Toy Story of all of them, and I am obviously biased. But also, you had artists who came in. You know, David was like had done some storyboarding work on it, and then like and helped recraft the story. Like the whole story team like went up to John Lasseter's like wine train and rode the wine train around for 3 days and like rewrote the entire story and like. You know, that, and then they were like, this is what we have to commit with. No messing with it, no
How
going
is this
in,
the
no
first time
futzing.
I've heard the story of the wine train?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
I mean, it
I'm
sounds
sure
like
you know that story.
we talk about incredible writers' room and getting away from things. A wine train? Wow, you're going to come up with some
wine
shit
train.
on that train. Yeah.
Oh, wine
amazing.
Was David
Love
on
that.
this wine train?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Look,
I
Jen
will let-
has so many stories.
I will let you
That,
ask
you
about the
know,
wine
she
train.
can't possibly have told you all,
That's right.
Nick. So,
That's
yeah.
right. But then he moved into art directing on it, and like you know, and they were like, okay, there's going to be this like you know this whole sequence of Buzz Lightyear at the beginning, like go to town, and he was like, okay, and then he like referenced Star Wars, and he referenced what Star Wars referenced, and then he like flipped his pencil holder upside down to create the thing that the battery pack is sitting on in Zurg's lair, and
Oh,
he.
yeah.
You know, and he did all this amazing stuff, and there wasn't time to change it. So, like, his vision got to stay his vision, you know? And same with, like, with Jesse's backstory. It was, like, that was his vision, and they were like, we don't have time to mess with it. So, like, normally when people would come in and say, oh, change this, do this, they were like, this is your vision. This is yours over here. This is somebody else's. And it creates this purity. And I think that the limitations that they're getting in Wheel of Time are making them be really clean and really specific, and it's not ideal, but it also I think can create great art. So that's my long-winded way of saying that the limitations that they have can be really wonderful and can be creating some moments that I think we wouldn't get if they had all the budget in the world and they had all the time in the world. And I'm not saying don't give them the budget and the time. Please do.
Please do.
Please do. All right.
Renew what?
I'm-
Season 4.
I'm gonna share something.
Yeah.
And this is not like big crazy news. This is relevant because of what you just said, Jen. So I've had a few people mention to me, like people from production and stuff like that. To say, obviously when they filmed season 3, it was like strikes were going on.
Mm-hmm.
When they're filming, because they got like the SAG actors in, did their bit, done, out the way. But when the strikes were on, the show had been written.
Yeah.
But if I understand it right, when you're filming it, you can't change it on the day because you can't have a writer come in and redo things, or someone
during
come in
the strike.
and redo
That's
things.
correct.
Yeah, during the strike. Yeah. So many things from season 3 were like, I would normally tweak this or change this or do that, or the director would ask something, or the producer would say, maybe you could do this instead, or whatever. And it was all like, we can't do that because the strikes. We
Which
have
is
to do what's on the page.
So there's like less of. So are you saying like less of the studio oversight, perhaps?
It's no. What I'm saying is like as you from what they've told me, as you film things, the right amount that didn't work on screen. Actually, when we put that in the room, that didn't work. Like this, you put like a weird structuring of the background, people doing this. They're all like, it looks like this, or it looks like that, or that doesn't land right, this speech doesn't work, things like that. And so you change it, because when you're filming it, you second guess yourself, or doesn't actually.
Yeah,
work,
and that's
I
why the
suppose.
writers go to set. That's why
And
they
that's-
are on set.
Yeah.
Like for their episodes, they're actually there because someone's like, this dialogue isn't matching up, or it's not, it's unclear, or, or whatever.
Or
and you can make a
the
change.
director is not picking up what the writer wanted. Like, this is
Mhm.
not how it's envisioned. Like, I know it's a script on page, but this is what it's meant to be.
Mhm.
You're not getting it right. They couldn't do any of that.
Right.
So like you say, they just had to be like, this is what it is. You got to do what it is.
Yeah.
And so much of season 3 is the way it is because they could not change things.
Yeah.
You'll probably hear stories here and there, like will eventually come out, be like, oh yeah, we wanted to film this, or this wouldn't normally have stayed in the cut. Like I literally heard something about the thin scene. What half of that would not normally have stayed.
Mm-hmm.
That probably like a lot of that would have been cut or like something trimmed or whatever, and things changed. And because it was like, well, this is how we wrote it, it was done and dusted. Like, it all had to stay exactly as it was.
Yeah.
And so much of it turned out perfect as a result, because there's no, like you say, no overthinking it. And you talking about Yasha and being in here 2 hours in my outfit, and then I go and film the scene, and it's like, everyone's screaming, give the man an Oscar, even though as television he's not qualified. I love that. That's what we say. Give the man an Oscar. I'm like, it's television, sadly. Give him an Emmy as well, or a Golden Globe or whatever is what we should be shouting.
Right.
And it comes from that. And I don't want them to have the limitations, but in the same breath, it's beautiful that it's come from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a way, you can say that the strike was, it allowed a writer's vision to really make its way to the scene, because the writer couldn't be there changing their vision as they went, or based on changing it because of someone else's request or requirement. Rafe, in his role as both a member of the Producers Guild and a member of the Writers Guild, and both as a producer and a writer, could be there, but he couldn't rewrite the script. The only thing that a producer writer can do in those situations is rewrite for safety. So if there is something that's like, this isn't going to work because it's putting our actors in danger, or there's a safety issue, they can make adjustments based on that.
Which probably comes more into like stunt scenes,
It can be stunt scenes, or it could be something that's unexpected that you just don't like. You didn't expect that, like this. If it had been the scene where they were shooting on the in the ocean where the tide came in at the end of episode 8 of season 2, like let's just say it was a tidal issue. They were like, we didn't know there was an undertow here. We can't shoot it out where we need to shoot it. We need to redo something.
That makes sense.
In those things, he could make adjustments as a producer for the safety of the crew, but but he couldn't really change anything in the story, that didn't have a reason to. And again, like sometimes when someone's vision actually gets all the way through without everybody mucking with it along the way, it is
magical.
It can be magical. It can be. It can be. So, it's hard. There's always something. There's always something that makes it harder, and then the gifts and surprises that come out of it are unexpected and can be wonderful. And you can't plan for those.
Yeah. I think this just, like you say, this just shows how great this cast and crew are together, though, and the collaboration, because they've had those restrictions and they have produced the greatest season of fantasy television in over a decade. As per Rotten Tomatoes, just to clarify that.
And our opinion as well.
And our opinion as well. I actually went and watched, so I'm terrible for watching other reactors and content and stuff like that. I struggle with having the spoons to do things and that sort of stuff. And I know a lot of people have talked about the guys from Previewed. And what their thoughts were on season 3. Yeah, a lot of people liked them, and I was like, cool, maybe I'll get to watch people's reactions and things one day. It's just not something I could fit in. And I was asking about them earlier today, actually, for reasons. And I was like, they did do the review, and like, what, did they like it? Did they not? And like, give me the TLDR of the people. And someone said yes. And then someone's, I think it was Sherbs actually, said go and check out like the last few minutes of their episode 8 reaction. And all they did was just be like, more, amazing, perfect, best I've watched in so long, do it Amazon, all that, They barely really commented on the episode. It felt like, and they were just like raving and loving it, like this is incredible to watch. And they have produced something incredible through that. It is insane. So the FYC sounds like a lot of politics and a lot of budget issues.
It is. I mean, at the end of the day, anything in a award system, it is a lot of politics. It's both politics. It's like how much, the studio. Oh my. Okay. So this is not what I was going to say. the studios, let me say this first. Let me go back. Okay. So the studios put different amounts of money, effort, and time into promoting different shows for a gazillion different reasons that we may never know. Apple TV currently has a show called The Studio that I'm enjoying more than life itself right now. It is absolutely bananas. It's Seth Rogen.
Is this going to be like when I eventually watch The Bear?
Maybe. I mean,
Okay.
yes and no. It's hard for me to know if it'll land with anybody else. Mom likes it because Mom loves Hollywood and studio stuff, and she's pretty, understands the industry. I don't know if anybody who's not in the industry would actually enjoy it as much as I do. It's just ridiculous. But the last particular episode was about the Golden Globes, and it was about Seth Rogen who's a studio head, plays a studio head, trying to get Zoe Kravitz, who's playing Zoe Kravitz, to thank him in her Golden Globe award speech if she wins it. And he's talking about how Catherine O'Hara's in it, and she's like, it's so gauche, you cannot ask someone to put you in their speech. That is absolutely the worst thing you can do. And eventually he just straight up asks her. And and he's like, but no one will know I'm on the film because my name's not on it. I greenlit the film. I'm the reason this film happened because I'm the studio head, but no one will know. And I want to be acknowledged as the artist who helped make this happen. My love of film. And meanwhile, everybody who's got a Netflix show is thanking Ted Sarandos because he's the head of Netflix. And they're like, oh, thank you, Ted, for believing in our movie, blah, 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 blah. So he runs into
Ted's
Ted
probably there just being like, yeah, check,
right?
yeah, whatever, okay, yes.
He runs into Ted Sarandos in the bathroom, and it's actually Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix, in the show playing himself. It's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious.
Brilliant.
And he's like, how do you get them all to thank you? And he's like, it's in their contract. And he was like, what? Which is not true. That's actually
But can you imagine if that was true?
Right? Oh, and I love that he's just willing to pretend that that's his truth as Ted Sarandos, that he would put it into people's contracts that they have to thank him.
The layering in that joke is so good.
It's so good. Anyway, but there are things that are people, if you're okay, we're going to get Tom Cruise, we're going to get Zoe Kravitz, we're going to get whoever we're going to get for this show or this thing, their contract may say, you will put this much money into promoting this show in FYC season because I'm only going to come on a show that is going to help promote it, that's going to be promoted well promoted. So again, you're dealing with star power from, not that Severance is, but certainly the creators behind Severance are we're going to, you got to have this much, whatever. I'm not saying that they did that, but those things can be underneath it as well. And again, like I said, Ford Riley was I'm going to put up the money to actually put our, to submit our song because I think it's that good. I remember when we wrote it, he was like, oh, this is going to be our Emmy nominee. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then he did, and he put it out there because Disney didn't. And I am grateful because it worked.
And now
so
you're
it's,
an Emmy-nominated lyricist.
I am. Which is it's cool. It is exciting. I mean, that's you can get into the TV Academy if you work in TV, but if you are a nominee, you're guaranteed it. And if you've been a nominee, you can just that's of course you can get in. So that's it's cool. It is meaningful. I mean, I'm always the words don't matter. I mean, I didn't tell anybody for a really long time that I was nominated. I was mortified and embarrassed, and not embarrassed, but it's weird to
embarrassed in the way of sometimes it's tough to get that recognition from people. Would be
no,
don't all say thank you. And when
it was also just I'm oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's whatever. The work is the work and whatever. And it doesn't matter if it gets, I mean, I get an award. And in some ways I truly feel that. There's a whole funny thing about Zoe Kravitz, saying that. She's I'm here for the work. I don't care about these awards. And then in the background when Seth Rogen's put my name up there, and she's he said, you said you don't even care. She's like, I fucking care. Of course I'm going to say I don't care, but I fucking care,
Look,
so
I love making the Will of Time content. I love doing the reels I'm doing at the moment and stuff like that. And I would do it if, no one if no one did it because I just love making it. But I fucking love it when it gets oh my God, I got this many views and stuff.
Yeah.
Of course I love it. It's nice to have it recognized.
It's nice to be acknowledged, whether it's by
nice
your peers or by the people watching. It is just nice to know that we're doing it not in a vacuum and in a void.
Yes.
And so, yes, I think it's weird. I was oh, I don't know if I want to tell people or whatever or talk about it. And David was you got to tell people. And then when he got an Emmy nomination, he was oh, it is weird. I get it now. Yes, it is. It's very awkward and uncomfortable.
What was David's for?
Well, David was nominated for the title sequence of Big Nate, the Nickelodeon show. And his current show is actually, since we're talking award season, his current show is nominated at the Annecy Festival. Annecy is a little town in France that hosts essentially the animation equivalent to Cannes. So it's kind of like Cannes, but for animation specifically. And he is going to France next month to
amazing
screen his pilot that he directed for his current show, Max and the Midnights.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very exciting. But it's so yes, it does matter. And I'm glad Rafe is out there pushing it, and I wish Amazon were pushing it more, and I have a feeling Rafe he knows it's important. It's also it's also important because it can help lead to getting picked up for the next season.
Let's
to get some buzz.
Let's say the Hills of Tanchico gets wins an Emmy for best song. Okay, and let's say that because that felt like very like just a generic FYC video. Like, here's just Wheel of Time in general. From that, can you get nominated for any awards, or do you have to pay for individual?
You have to pay for every submission.
Pay for the submission.
Yep. And so again, Amazon might be like, we will pay for best.
Is there any way we can find out what they get submitted for?
Drama.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I will know. I'll know if I imagine Rafe's episode. I imagine episode 4 will get,
because they felt like they talked about that a lot. But then,
yeah. And I imagine, and Rafe wrote it, so like I imagine episode 4 will actually get. It'll be in the pool. I'll find out
for best adapted screenplay.
Not adapted, just for best. No, it's just best writing. It's just like best episode. Like writing for Emmys, like best writing is like it is an episode. It'll be best drama. Like it'll.
Okay, so whatever the all right. So again, so let's say episode 4 wins Emmy for best writing or whatever the.
So you as an Academy member get to vote towards the nominations, correct?
Yes, so like I get to vote towards the nominations in my peer group. So I have 2 peer
only
groups.
In your peer group.
Have a third.
Okay.
Yes, so my peer groups are writing. So I will be able to vote for writing episodes to be nominated. So I will get a list of like however many episodes have been submitted for writing for different categories or whatever, and then I will get to vote on those, and then those will get to the nominations, and then I will also get to vote for animation. And I should be in the kids and family peer group, but I forgot to check that box.
Do you get any actor ones? Due to you
I
being
don't
in
get
SAG?
No, I would get to vote for SAG Award stuff, but I don't get to vote for Emmys for actors because I didn't join as an actor category, but I probably could, except that my credits are old enough that I don't know that I could necessarily. David could actually. He actually should have.
Were you credited for Charlie?
No, I was not credited in Little Ellen.
Oh, okay.
For voice acting.
For the cat.
Okay. So I feel like we should summarize a little, because we've obviously had like a fun tangent on like the limitations and what magic comes out of them, which I love that discussion, by the way. I was honestly, unless someone shared it in an interview or someone asked directly about it, never going to share that, these people have mentioned, hey, we couldn't redo these things at the time, so we just had to like make what was there because, it just it's not something that was like news, and also it didn't fit any conversation I've been in until now. So I love that we've had that discussion. But like a TLDR is, you have to pay to be submitted into the nominations for
pool.
Nominations.
Yeah, the nomination
there
pool.
We go. Nomination pool.
Yeah.
And then people that are in those pools, such as, okay, I'm a writer, so I'm in the writing pool, or I'm an actor, so I'm in the acting pool, so on and so forth, vote on the pool, and then they get put up for nominations, and it goes from there. And there's a lot of politics involved, such as who's going to pay for it. Is it in someone's contract? I'm going to join this. If Tom Cruise is going to join this contract, you have to put it up for an Oscar or whatever type thing. I only think about that because he's done a shitload of stuff here for Mission Impossible recently, including standing on the BFI IMAX the other day, which was just hilarious. It was funny. I saw someone posting on TikTok, is that Tom Cruise on top of the cinema up there? And then literally the next day, like when it dropped, it had 0 likes and comments on it.
Oh my God.
I was scrolling Instagram and it popped up and it was like him on top of the BFI IMAX.
There you go.
I was just Wow. I think I was the first
He's
person
got
to like it 'cause
problems, man. He needs like adrenaline. He's an adrenaline junkie for sure.
he is.
Yeah.
Like, I said to my friend at work today, I was like, he's got like, you know, the Scientology thing. Like, there's on a personal level, the guy's interesting. You know, and I'm not necessarily good interesting either. Like, you know, there's shit going on, but you got to respect his dedication to filming and stunts and things
You
like that.
And
you know?
and also I just heard him, you know, he was like, we want to make these movies that are really fun and wonderful, but we also want to make sure, like, how do we engage the audience?
Yeah.
He cares about the people watching the movies.
And he watches a movie, like he tries to watch, and pretty successful at it, watches a movie every fucking day.
Yeah,
I was just like,
yeah,
I don't feel bad for how many movies I watch now.
I know. Well, and it's also like, I mean, I have to just be like, you're a really, really problematic person, but why are you also perfect?
Yeah, there's like a
it's
lot,
just-
from a movie perspective, the guy
Yeah.
is great, but
Yeah.
he's very problematic while he's at it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I love
It
the
is so
Henry Cavill's
charming.
view.
And
The
then
This
Henry
should be no
Cavill's view.
surprise to anyone, but one of my favorite movies is Cocktail.
It is not a surprise.
Megan,
Actually,
have you actually watched him make the cocktails in Cocktail? It gives me PTSD.
Are they
He
terrible?
is shocking at making. He does this fucking thing when he's like first meets the chick and he's flirting, and he then just like cracks the Boston Shaker and just does this into the glass, and you can just tell the shaker's full of like 3 times the amount of liquid the glass needs. You know, and it
Okay,
just
I
sort of,
guess
like,
I need to
spills.
rewatch. I haven't rewatched it in a while, so
It just sort of like spills everywhere. He just kind of like puts it down to one side. There's your cocktail, love. Look at me, I'm amazing. This is
That's
clearly
so
before he
amazing.
got method, because I was like, dude, that is fucking. Like, what have you done? That's not even close to right.
That is hilarious.
Anyway, sorry, weird Tom Cruise tangent there. But yeah, so sometimes there's like contractual stuff that also affects whether
Yeah.
things get promoted
Yes.
or not.
Yes.
And that's kind of where we're at. So
Yeah, and we're in the season. If you want the dates, let's see,
yeah,
I think I have-
when are like, do you know
yeah,
when
I
the
put
pool
up
closes, when the nominations get announced, and when the
May-
Emmys are? I don't know if that.
let's see. Yes, they are. Okay, April. Okay, engineering, science, and technology Emmys were earlier. Those were April 4th. Those were due. February 20th is when everything opened for submissions. You can submit. The eligibility period is things that came out since June 1st of 24 all the way through
Okay.
May 31st of 25.
Mm.
So things that are currently coming out, so like
Mhm.
Andor, you know, these are things that will be up in the same time period, even though our show came out a couple months ago. Let's see, through
So if you could submit up to the end of May, I'm presuming the pool doesn't close until some point.
Yeah.
in
Well,
June.
yes, but so May 8th, entry deadline for programs that identify as primetime programming by virtue of genre and were originally presented between June 1st and May 31st. But the entry deadline is May 8th.
Oh.
So you have to know that you're coming out and be like, here's our stuff.
Watch
like
this
even if the
episode, right.
yeah, like
Mhm.
even if
So it's
episode
a bigger
8 hasn't-
risk for those that come out late May, then, isn't it?
Well, only in the sense that, like, let's just
They're
say,
like-
okay, I think
You've
Andor
got to have
finished
faith
up.
in your project.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, I
yeah.
think Andor finished up yesterday. So, okay, technically, if the deadline was May 8th, but the last episode of Andor didn't come out until yesterday, they can submit the last episode because the assumption is that you've finished. It's packaged and ready to. It just hasn't aired yet.
True.
So
And
even though
also,
it
they
hasn't,
would know how successful the season's been so far
Yeah.
based on viewership
but
on the previous
but if their
episodes, so
episode wasn't going to air until June 2nd, they can't use that episode in the nomination process, right? So it has to be out before May 31st, which again,
So
like
it's not even like the season has to start. The whole thing,
The whole thing,
anything
yeah,
you submit has to have
because
been
it-
out by
yes,
that point.
although you can still probably put it forward for like our show. You just can't technically count anything that comes out after May 31st. So frankly, nobody who's got a series is going to have a series bridge that gap, go
Yeah, that makes
past May
sense.
31st.
Yeah.
Who wants to have the whole series nominated, or the season rather. June 12th is when nominations round voting begins. So
Okay.
deadlines are, the deadline was last week for uploading all of your entry materials, and now they start to get essentially collated and passed out to the members so that on June 12th we'll have access to everything that we're eligible to vote for, which won't be everything. So June 23rd,
Okay.
the
So
nominations
June
voting
12th is
round.
when.
You can
June,
begin
sorry.
June
voting.
12th is when for nominations, and June 23rd is when nomination voting ends. So between the
Okay.
12th and the 23rd is when everybody's voting. So
towards
you
the
can still
nominations,
technically
not towards who wins.
towards
correct?
the nominations.
Okay.
Yes. And so potentially there will still be FYC stuff going on at that point because people will be like, I know you're watching, I know you're voting, but most of it will be wrapped up before June 12th, FYC stuff. Then you have June 27th through July 7th is when voting for peer group specific top 10 round goes. So some of them go down to a top 10 round. Some of them don't. It depends on which category it is and what peer group it is. But some things will then be in voting during that time. Okay. And then July 15th is when nominations are announced, which is right before Comic-Con.
Okay.
Yeah. So July 15th we'll know. Which is, oh my God. Yeah, sorry. But won't we be, what is WatCon? We'll be at WatCon when the nominations are announced.
July 15th is... July 15th is a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. It's right after WatCon.
So it's after.
Yeah, so right after WatCon.
Yeah.
So, Jen, here's a question, and then we'll talk about WatCon as well, folks, because we're going to be there. Do you have any contacts at all? You might be like, hey, did it make it? Do you reckon it's going to get in? Like, can you nudge anyone?
Oh,
it's okay if you say no.
I don't actually know anybody who I could nudge to get information early, but I do. I mean, I'll be voting for some things, and I'll be there. I don't know how much of that information is actually is available to the general membership beforehand, but obviously the nominations, I won't know anything about nominations until the nominations are announced.
Unless you actually know somebody who runs that part of the system.
But
putting that on my list of people to befriend, someone who runs the award systems.
But also if I'm in touch with other members, like there's sometimes buzz like among the membership of like, oh, everybody's talking about blah 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 show. So
like what call a talk type thing. Okay. That might give you an indicator like everyone seems to like really love this and they probably voted for it.
Yeah. And you're also looking at, like in terms of fantasy stuff, I mean, interestingly enough, like it's fantasy isn't its own category. It's, in terms of like most things, it's just considered drama. So Wheel of Time will be up against Severance.
Right.
And then you also have, and 1923, it'll be up against like Yellowstone and Severance. And so you've got a really broad category for a lot of it, and then you have, because if it were the only fantasy show, people might be like, well, let's throw fantasy a bone, throw something in there. But we have Lord of the Rings, we have Andor, because whatever, it's sci-fi.
So sci-fi fantasy, yeah. I mean, I literally described. Someone asked me about one of the girls at work, one of the kids at work. Let's be honest, actually, they're all fucking like 20. Literally children. They were like, "What's it like?" It's like, well, do you like sci-fi and fantasy? Because it crosses both those borders, basically. It's a fantasy world with a lot of sci-fi elements, and they were like, "Oh, okay." So you can, Andor can go in that category as far as I'm concerned. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So
Star Wars is definitely fantasy more than sci-fi.
Yeah,
it's. I would say it's fantasy based in a sci-fi world, which Wheel of Time, if you wanted to like really clarify it for me, is like almost sci-fi based in a fantasy world. Fantasy based in a sci. Yeah. So Andor is fantasy based in a sci-fi world, and Wheel of Time is
sci-fi in a fantasy
world. Yeah. Really couldn't get my head around the sentence. Thank you very much.
That's a great way
because there are hard rules. And things, which make it a little bit more sci-fi-ish. Yeah, but it's very fantasy.
Yeah,
and it is technically future. So in any case, it's just such a it's just I hope it gets some credit. It deserves it. It really, really does on a lot of levels and in a lot of different places. But
I think,
and there was a lot more buzz this season. So.
Yeah. I know I'm probably there is bias, obviously. Huge Wheel of Time fan. And it was a great episode. But I would put episode 4 up against any episode for writing anywhere about anything.
Yeah.
And just be like, I'm sorry, just look at that fucking episode. I know as book readers we have a lot of a lot of our feelings about it, but honestly, people who are not book readers are absolutely fucking dying and raving over that episode.
The camera work, the costuming, the character, there's makeup. So much. The makeup, there's so much in it, and you're right. Like it is an epic episode of television, any way you cut it and in any category. And so, yeah, I do think, and I also think like, I'm so glad that they were like, Amazon just wasn't doing. I asked Rafe that question about aspect ratio when he was doing the questions on Dusty, and I mean, Matt asked him my question, which was, talk to me about the aspect ratio thing, and he was like, we wanted to do it the first 2 years, but Amazon was like, we don't do widescreen shows that wide, and Rosman saying like that was something we always wanted, and I even said in that question, I think like this was like the Lawrence of Arabia moment, like of you got these vistas, you really want to use it. And he was like, we always wanted to do it, but this was the right season. And I'm so glad they did, because again, like, the film and television community has crossed over a lot. And you do have a lot of, and I mean this in the most loving way, snobby film people who are now in the TV world and who are voting for things like this. It used to be much more delineated. It was the A-Team versus Lawrence of Arabia, and now it's not. Now we're doing Lawrence of Arabia on TV. And so, you have people saying, oh, this is epic television, this is premium television, this is beautiful cinematic work, which that didn't matter as much to the TV crowd 20 years ago. And it does now. Yeah. I mean, it did with Lost. What was Lost 20 years ago? So, okay, Lost kind of started a lot of that premium television.
Yeah, but we know what you mean. I do get it. So, well, let's hope it works out. And let's hope that we're really excited and there's buzz going around when we're at WhatCon, because WhatCon is coming up, folks. We will be there, as will Manvana. Yes, we will be there. That's what I said. Yeah. And then as will Manvana, because I still need to go shopping for my outfit. I must do that. That's going to be quite.
You're not wearing your hamper on your head.
Do you know what? Someone keeps asking me. Not someone. I keep getting asked about what am I doing for the headpiece. I'm like, oh, they did not watch the video, which is fair because obviously it doesn't have like 10 million views on it. It's got like 200. So I'm not surprised a lot of people. No, actually, it was one of the rewatches, so it's more than that. But anyway, still. I'm surprised a lot of people don't know about that. And I'm still tempted to take the hamper, and I'm not. I'm debating. I'll see if I can.
And it's a foldable, packable hamper. I think. That's
I can flat it.
doable.
I can make it flat. I can absolutely take it. That's not a problem. But yeah, we will be at WhatCon as we have been. I think we've all been every year now, haven't we?
We have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please make sure you come hang out with us. We've discovered that apparently there are some people who are like, what do people do for dinner if they don't do VIP? And
we go get dim sum.
We go get dim sum. Yeah, we went and got dim sum last year on the Friday night. And that was when we realized actually the three of us don't do VIP, so we're like, oh shit, we'll go get dinner together. So if you are because
we broke,
I can't.
That's why. Let's just say it. We broke.
I also can't justify double the ticket cost for a second meal of fine. The food's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but like a second meal, which runs almost identical to the first meal, except it's Michael and Kate doing a reading up front as opposed to Nabes and Matt reading out weird comments from the audience,
which is great.
Which is great, and
yes,
and the fashion walk,
Yes. But it definitely is an upgrade to have Michael and Kate reading.
Someone records. That's true. Someone records it every year. That swag and the consummate. For me, it doesn't justify the double. But yeah, come join us Friday night, folks. We're gonna go get dim sum. So if you're at the convention, come join us. And at some point over the weekend, we're working on schedules. We had thought about Friday night, but that's going to be an absolute maybe because of when she flies in. But Three-Wheeling will be doing an interview with Sharon Gillam. We'll be hanging out. Meg will be making her a cocktail. We've already found out what she likes to drink. Thank you to someone who shall remain nameless. We'll tell Sharon when she finds out. How did you know I like this? Well, this is who I asked. And if you know anything about me, you might have a couple of ideas of who I asked.
Rob's got some eyes and ears. Let's just put it that way.
I may have befriended a couple of people at last year's MalkiriCon.
You're such a blue Ajah.
So yeah, it's good fun. But yeah, we'll be hanging out with Sharon at some point and chatting with her. So yeah, keep an eye out for that as well.
Chatting with her / fawning all over her.
Yes.
God, she's
and
a
Lauren, I will make sure we are bringing the cocktail book for you at WhatCon. So.
Laura.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Laura. Yes.
You can just cut that, edit it, switch it, fix it. Thanks.
Say it again from the beginning.
Just say it again.
Laura, we will bring you the cocktail book.
That did not sound practiced and forced at all. Now I'm leaving that entire bit in for fun. But yeah, do you know what's really interesting? If Sharon fills up to recording Friday night, she won't have seen Manvana. But if we record like after the dinner on Saturday, which I think is unlikely based on how many things happen, and so probably end up being Sunday.
And I have to
Friday
do
night.
Takaran Riyadh trivia. That is a must on my
Megan
list.
wants to win
Right.
for trivia this year.
I want to be not last. That's my goal. Is not last.
Okay. Then yeah, so it's likely to be Sunday. So I'm like curious, depending on when we do the interview, she may or may not have seen my outfit.
Yes.
So I'm almost tempted to be like, we should go for Sunday. Just
Yeah,
so she
go
would
for
have
Sunday
seen it.
for
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's going to happen that weekend, folks. If
Yes.
you're not going to be at WhatCon, you will be able to catch the recording because we will release it afterwards type thing. But yeah, hopefully we be able to see you there. And speaking of conventions, if you haven't gone and got your MercuryCon ticket for Prague,
Do it.
You need to do that because then you come hang out with Natty Cawthon. Juliet Howland's going to join us, and she's going to
so
be,
lucky.
we're planning out some special musical numbers. So, yeah, we'll announce those probably on the day because it's going to be a surprise. I've decided right now that I'm not going to tell you in advance what they are. You have to buy the ticket and find out. So anyway, I think that's it. So this is fun. Thank you, Jen, for sharing that knowledge. I know we kind of had to get a lot out of you and a lot of talking for you of like explaining things and such. But I appreciate that because we know what an FYC is, but we also don't know. And
there's a lot to it. It seems like. Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, folks, please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. We like those 5-star reviews, and we'll read them out. If you give us the review, we'll find it, we'll read it out, we'll be like, thank you. If they're a 5-star review, if they're like not a 5-star review,
if it's a 4.5,
I'm not sure I'm going to see
Fuck
it.
that.
So I got filters on my notifications.
4.5, it's fine.
Yeah, 4.5.
I'll take it.
We understand. But yeah, wherever you're listening, folks, and if it's on YouTube, please like the video and comment below. Follow the show on social media. You can hit us up on Blue Sky, which is 3wheeling.madkidtalks.com, or you can go on Instagram, which is 3.wheeling, and our individual accounts are listed in the show notes. And if you want to hang out live like Sharon did today, typically it's a Saturday morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on whether you're on the West Coast, East Coast, or in Europe. I don't know what it'd be in Australia. I suppose in Australia it would be a Sunday morning.
Almost, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Then hit up the Patreon link in the description and you can come hang out with us there. Look at me, getting real slick with those outros.
Super
so slick.
Remember the days from like, wait, what is our social media again? Like,
yeah, look it up, scroll.
Yeah, but I love that I'm still like, what is it again? Yeah.
Hey, you bring the industry insider knowledge.
Yes.
Yes.
And Meg brings alcohol and social. She
Meg brings the rum.
Meg brings the rum and the social scrolling, and I bring you shit that people tell me.
And that's why we're a good combination.
Yes. We didn't have a water positivity.
Oh, we did.
Damn it. Yes. Quick water positivity.
Trying
folks.
to do a triangle because we're the Triforce.
We are. I love a Zelda reference. I'm down for that. Water positivity, folks, is usually how we like to wrap up before I actually do the wrap up. And this week, it's a personal one for me, which I feel like I end up doing a lot of personal ones when I do the positivity.
That's great because you're positive. Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Trying to bring some light to Meg's day while she's dealing with adolescent children. So, if you're not fully aware, folks, I have a busted ankle, long-term issue, long-term treatment required, chronic pain, all those good bits and pieces to go with that. Walk with a cane most of the time. And I go and get the tram to go to work because, got to pay the bills. And I mistimed the tram one day. And I was just like, I'm coming down the stairs. It's already pulled up. The doors are, open, but you hear the beep noises as the doors come to close. And I'm like, I tried to walk over, but I was like, I'm not going to run. I'm like, screw it. I'll just be, the next tram's in 12 minutes. I'll just be 12 minutes late to work because, timings. And the driver was clearly feeling nice because they have cameras so they can see people coming in that doors and they can tell from the outside. He saw me come up and just like half walk and be like, maybe I can make it, and just be like, no, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to, try and trap myself in the door. And he re-hit the button and allowed the doors to be reopened. They made like their new, like you can push the button, open the door. And I was just like, waved at the camera, thank you, as I pushed the button, and I managed to get on the tram earlier last week. So it was really nice. I was not late as a result. Mm-hmm. So thank you to that tram driver for taking the second. Maybe it's because I didn't try and force my way onto the tram. He felt sorry for me. I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate that.
And it is, those small acts of kindness are so meaningful. Really
it is. It really is. It made a big difference to the start of my day. Yeah. So I very much appreciate that. So yeah.
Thank you, tram driver.
Thank you, tram driver.
Yeah. And whoever runs the trams, sort your fucking shit out, because the trams currently in Manchester are shocking. They were really good for a while, and now they've just gone really, really bad. And timings and changes and faults and engineering works and stuff. I was like, ugh. Anyway, thank you, tram driver, because the tram drivers are great.
Yes.
The company, not so good. But yeah, the tram driver, you made my day, so thank you. And that's it. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hopefully back on a Saturday. We'll figure it out. Yeah. But we'll let you know. So. Yeah. Bye!
Bye! Once again, we've proven that even when you're the third wheel,
you can always find a place to fit in.
Join us next time.
On Three Wheeling.
On Three Wheeling.
On Free Wheeling.